All right, guys. So I'm going to do a little bit of a Excel demo for you so that you have this for reference because we're going to be doing Excel a lot. So here, hopefully you can see my screen. What if we just want to make a position versus time graph? And we're going to start at time 0. Our object is at position 0. It's some, random position. I would either give you the data or you would come up with the data in lab on your own. But for this one, I'm just going to make up numbers. And I'm going to make up pretty numbers. I'm going to say time goes 1, 2, 3, 4. And position is going to go 2, 4, 6, 8. Of course I sneeze in the middle of this. I'm sorry, guys. So whenever you're creating a graph, you always want to do this XY scatter. So we've got this nice pretty position time graph. You always need 4 things on a graph. You always need a title, and remember, they always go Y versus X, so this would be a position versus time graph. So if I want to relabel that position versus time, you always want axis titles, so put position on your Y, time on your X. You always need a trend line, so you come click trend line here, and you always want the equation. So I can come over here, this 3 bars on mine, scroll down, display equation. So axis titles, regular title, trend line, equation. Those are the 4 things you always need on every graph. I'm not actually typing it all in. You guys can understand. So position, time, position versus time. This is your equation. This is nice and pretty because I made up the data. It will not always be that way. All right, but a lot of times I'm not interested in position versus time. I'm going to be interested in the speed of the object or its velocity. Velocity is rate of change of position. So change in position over change in time. And you could get a calculator and you could type it in individually, but that's not as quick because sometimes you're going to have a lot of data. What if instead of just these many points, what if instead I brought it down and we had this many points? And now my graph, is this big. And if it's not really pretty numbers, you're not going to want to be sitting there with a calculator every single time. So we can enter what we call an equation into an Excel. This formula bar up here, the way to tell Excel to do a calculation is to start by pressing the equal sign. So if velocity is change in position over change in time, what I'm going to do is use parentheses, and I can literally come and click on the cell. And I can say, all right, it's going to be this value, B3, minus that value, divided by, so that's my change in position, divided by my change in time. So now I've got all of them selected. They all went different colors. You can match the colors up here. It's my change in position divided by my change in time, and that's giving me my velocity. All right, that can drag down. Oh my goodness, they're all 2. Well, this is moving at a constant rate, and I made up the numbers, remember. In yours, you're going to have uglier data, and it's not going to be all the same. So this is giving us a constant velocity of 2 because I have a nice straight position graph. But in real life, that's not going to always happen. So you're going to have lots and lots and lots of different numbers here. One thing you should notice, this last data point is not actually valid because it's taking the empty cell minus 32 divided by this empty cell minus 16. So you don't have enough data, and you can just delete him. You will always have 1 less velocity than position. It will always be like that. So if I want to graph velocity versus time, I have a couple options. I can come highlight time, and then if I hold down Control, I can highlight velocity. Or if you don't want to do that, you can just copy and paste your time. So Control C, Control V, and now I can go like this. Either way, I can now insert my XY scatter. It's very pretty. Again, yours is not going to be this pretty. That is totally okay. And remember the 4 things you need. Title, velocity versus time. Add your axis titles, velocity on the y-axis, time on the x-axis. And add your trend line. And we're going to make sure we put our equation of the trend line on there as well. So this is, again, a nice, pretty, easy trend line. Y equals 2, velocity versus time. This is velocity. This is time. Sometimes you'll have to keep going and create acceleration, and you can do the same thing. Acceleration is change in velocity over change in time. So I could do equals parentheses change in velocity divided by change in time. Not all labs will make you do this, so I'm just showing you in case you're having a lab that requires it. And then same deal, you can come and you can drag this down. This one, again, is constant velocity, so 0 acceleration. So it makes sense that we're getting zeros. But if your position was speeding up or something, then you would have a different acceleration. So the other cool thing about Excel is that it'll update graphs and formulas as you go. So there's my acceleration. Remember, 4 things: acceleration versus time, axis titles, trend line, equation of trend line. But say, all right, so I keep talking about what if these are not pretty numbers? So what if this is 2.1 and this is 5.4, then this is 6.7, and then this is 10.9. So now you can see all of these values are now starting to waver a little bit, and now we have velocity values and acceleration values that are not straightforward. So using the little equation trick is super, super, super helpful. So now my velocity is changing, and my position is not a perfectly straight line. Excel updated it for me. I didn't have to remake graphs. I love Excel. Excel does really cool things. There's lots and lots of other cool things. The last cool thing I'll show you is, say I wanted time to go up by like 0.1, then 0.2. It recognizes patterns. So if you select 2 things or 3 things and you drag it down, now all of them are going up by 0.1. So that's also another cool thing. You could make it go up by 2 or by 4 or by 0.1 or by 0.2. And yeah, if you ever have questions on Excel, I know a lot of random fun Excel things. So cool. There was your very, very, very short, quick Excel tutorial. I hope it helped, and I hope you guys can reference this, and then you don't need to struggle as much on the labs. You'll get better at Excel the more you practice it. All right. Sounds good. Thanks, guys.